A very good morning and welcome to the official Facebook page of EGRA S.S.B College, Department of Commerce. I hope you all are doing well during this pandemic and the crisis season. Myself, Dr. Sunil Kumar Yadav, Assistant Professor and Head, Department of Commerce, EGRA S.S.B College. I'm your host for today's session. I, on behalf of the organizer, welcome you all to this two-day international webinar on issues and challenges of sustaining civil rights, education and economy, organized by Department of Commerce, EGRA S.S.B College in collaboration with NAV-BANDHAN, BURDWAN Nehru Vidya Mandir, Alumni Welfare Association. It's a matter of great privilege and honor for me to extend a hearty welcome to the dignitaries to this web program and to introduce them to the participants. Today we have been graced with august presence of Professor Anil Bhuimali sir, the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Raiganj University as inaugurator, and Dr. Sasinath Mandal, WBES and Associate Professor of Law, Government of West Bengal as a special guest among us. I'm grateful to all of them for giving their kind consent, managing their busy schedule to be among us. We have among us Dr. Deepak Kumar Tamili, the principal of EGRA S.S.B College and chief patron of this webinar. We are thankful to Dr. Deepak Kumar Tamili for being the backbone of this venture and always to be always among us and for always their cooperative and support. In today's webinar, we have with us Dr. Durlabh Sarkar, Dr. Rajiv Bhattacharya, CMA Purnendu Bosu, Professor Uttam Kumar Datto, Professor Shankar Kumar Acharya, Professor Sanjeev Kumar Tiwari as resource person. I convey my gratitude to all of them for being with us, for giving their kind consent, managing their busy schedules. Before moving into the actual program, I would like to highlight the objective of this webinar. Right now, we all are passing through a very difficult time, fighting against COVID-19 global pandemic. COVID-19 outbreaks has not only infected millions of people, but also led to the lakhs of death. It is wrecking in each and every aspect of our life, particular, as well as in society in general, in economic, social, political, education, and legal also. It has created a lot of problem in each and every sector of the society. Literally speaking, we can say that it has bared the skeleton of our defective social system, and it has forced us to rethink over all these aspects and issues towards achieving greater social sustainability during and after the pandemic. Perhaps most of you know that few days ago we have organized another international webinar to discuss the survival strategies of COVID-19 crisis in India in respect of economy, finance and education. Now the main objective behind organizing this international webinar is to discuss the problem that we are facing right now in sustaining economy, education and protection of human rights, as well as to take proper measures to solve this problem during and after the pandemic. Before much ado, we would like to start our inaugural session. Now, I would like to request our principal, Dr. Deepak Kumar Tamili, to deliver his welcome address. Please, over to you, sir.
Good morning to everybody. It is a great honor and privilege in welcoming all academicians, researchers, students, participants in today's international webinar seminar on issue and challenges of sustaining civil rights, education and economy, organized by Department of Commerce, B.VOC and NAV-BANDHAN, BURDWAN Vidya Mandir. Also, I thanks and regards to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Anil Kumar Bhuimali, Raiganj University. Also, I express my thanks and regards to Dr. Sasinath Mandal, West Bengal Education Service, Associate Professor of Law. Also, Honorable Registrar Dr. Durlabh Sarkar and Dr. Rajiv Bhattacharya, Associate Professor, Department of Economics, Goenka College, and other resource person, CMA Purnendu Basu, Royal University of BURDWAN. And also in tomorrow's seminar, our distinguished guest, Professor Uttam Kumar Datta, Professor Shankar Kumar Acharya, Professor Sanjeev Kumar Tiwari. I also express my sincere thanks to our departmental colleagues, Department of Commerce, and other colleagues of our college. Also express my thanks to our students of EGRA S.S.B college. As you all know, due to COVID-19 outbreak that was initiated in Wuhan city of China, and that was spreading all over the world. At present, more than 160 countries are affected by this pandemic disease. Almost 1,60,00,000 people are infected by this pandemic disease, and more than 6 lakh students, more than 60 lakh patients have already been died. Considering the present severe crisis of social sustainability, these seminars are very much significant and relevant. Even due to the pandemic disease has put our social structure of our society in a jeopardy and turbulence, and like business, economy, finance, and others, law also. Due to this pandemic disease, our educational environment has almost broken. After end of March, more than school, colleges, more than 90% schools, colleges, and university has also been closed. More than 160 billion students are deprived from normal, regular mode of teaching. UGC has initiated online mode of teaching, and other state government also of different universities has also taken initiative online mode of teaching. But those students are living in remote or rural area, they have no smartphone or non-net connection due to they are deprived from online mode of teaching. It has posed a great challenge before us to maintain and run the teaching learning process smoothly. Both the teachers and students are still in doubt about the fate of present situation and when we'll get back the normalcy. The Indian economy due to this coronavirus has been largely disrupted. Indian economy is expected to lose 30 crores due to the lockdown period. Although Government of India has taken initiative to tackle to measures on every respect, in healthcare, in sanitation, in food, safety, security, in everything. Although Government of India has also another scheduled program, also another Atmanirbharan in industries, in agriculture, and other sectors. Also, our unorganized sector, economically backward population is facing a lot of problems to avail themselves proper health care and treatment. Add to this issue, violation of law, fundamental rights is also a problem. Witnessing violation these rights of labor classes constitute a greater part of our population. It is also been observed that a COVID patient is being ostracized by our society and deprived from normal treatment, neglecting the patient. It is also painful to all us that when doctors, nurses, and health staff are being humiliated, heckled by the society. Also, it is a great problem. All these pose serious spatial and structural and physical threats to contemporary human societies and their living spaces. In such dire moment, a crisis, we need to think over social sustainability. Hope this seminar will get our views, will give our views to students and benefit for the education also help to us toward achieving our goals. I will not explain our views, not prolong our speech. I think our distinguished guests will deliver their lecture and also benefit all of us. Thank you. I expect our organizer for the success of this seminar. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Principal Sir, for your valuable speech. Now, the main attraction of this webinar, Professor Anil Bhuimali Sir. We are fortunate enough to have Professor Anil Bhuimali Sir as our inaugurator, the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Raiganj University. I just want to give a little bit information about Sir. Professor Anil Bhuimali Sir at present is the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Raiganj University, Uttar Dinajpur, West Bengal, a veteran academician having teaching experience of almost 32 years and research experience of 30 years. Professor Bhuimali has a very illustrious academic career decorated with countless achievements and accolades. Formerly, he was a professor of economics at North Bengal University. Professor Bhuimali was awarded his PhD in 1994 in his thesis on experiment and prospect of rural cooperatives in West Bengal. And in 2016, he was awarded BSA B.Lit for his thesis on disadvantaged women and children at work with reference to West Bengal. A doyen in his own area, he also shares interest in different specialized areas like microeconomics, gender economics, international economics, rural economics, Dalit studies, Gandhian economics, development economics, IT policies and management, and he emerged as pioneering figure in all these fields. Till now, he has authored 48 books and contributed more than 138 scholarly articles in different well-reputed journals across the globe, which are rare treasure to any aspiring scholar in the field of economics. He has successfully supervised 34 PhD researchers and 20 MPhil scholars till now, and has conducted a good number of projects as well. For his outstanding contribution in the academia, he has been honored with numerous awards and membership of different academic bodies, learned societies and editorial board. To mention a few, in 2016, he was honored with Bongo Ratna by Government of West Bengal, outstanding University Administrator and Academic Excellence in 2017 by Society of Research Development Editorship of South Asian Journal of Human Rights, International Journal and Social Sciences, etc. The list is endless. We are once again fortunate enough to have such a man of repute among us. We are also thankful to him for giving his kind consent, managing their busy schedule. Now, I request Bhuimali sir, please sir, say a few words.
Good morning to all of you. It's a great privilege for me that I have been invited by the administrators of EGRA S.S.B College for a two-day webinar, and the issue of such a seminar is very pertinent on the ground that the whole globe has been surfaced by so many problems due to COVID-19 pandemic situation. So before beginning my lecture, I would like to welcome all the dignitaries present, especially the speakers, the organizers, the principal, and also the researchers and fellow participants. The issue that has been fixed by the organizer is issues and challenges of sustaining civil rights, education, and economy. So the topic is broad enough to cover all the aspects of economy and society. we all know that uh, from the discussion of Dr. Sunil Jadhav and our beloved principal, Dr. B.VOC Kumar Tamili, that the whole world has been suffering from such kind of pandemic. The world, as our knowledge says, have had suffered a lot. Just few years back, in 2008, we had experienced a crisis, a global recession in 2008, but that had impact on the economies of the world. But the situation at present, as we are suffering, is much more dangerous than the 2008 case. I can say that a recent statement by the UN Department of Economics and Social Issues states that before 2020, it was estimated that the global growth rate would be at the end of 2020 around 2.5%. But as a result of this pandemic situation, it has been estimated that the growth rate in the whole globe would go down to -1 and even more that can be. So in such a situation, everybody, those who are in the formal sector or those who are in informal sector, those who are rich, those who are poor, everybody has been affected. There is no denying the fact that we are not happy. Everybody is in a dilemma. Students are in a dilemma. The businessmen are in a dilemma. And the situation has made all of us threatening. We are all threatened by this social and economic impact of this pandemic. We see that two sides of the thing. One is the business class and the other one is the employees. Everybody, the employer, the employees, and also the businesses, everything has been shattered. So it has really started from November 19, and our India and many other developing countries, they have experienced this since March 2020. So we have already passed 5 months from the start of this pandemic situation. In this situation, the most hard-hit section is the education system. Education has been shattered. Many universities and the research institutes, universities, colleges, schools, they are trying their level best to cope up with the situation. But here we are applying technology. Here technology is our great friend. But it is true that we are not technologically sound in all the respects, because we know that the countries are economically divided. We have different abilities to buy the technology. So, and also, even if we have technology, we are not conversant with this technology. So we need to cope up with this situation. Even the teachers, many of us cannot handle this situation properly. So we plead for restructuring our classes. Instead of directly going to the students, we can use different devices. But these devices cannot reach to the students sometimes, because many of our students living in the remote rural areas, even some of the students living in the urban areas and urban slum areas, they cannot have the access. So unless we have access, we cannot completely utilize the deliveries provided by our teachers and researchers. So that we need from all the sides, from the teachers, from the students, the system of conversant with the technology. So technology will be our great friend when we are capable of understanding this and accessing this and delivering this to the proper channel. Otherwise, this technology cannot be a friend to all of us. So the main hindrance is our ignorance, main hindrance is our economic capability. So it will take time. This situation will give us many lessons, and in course of time we will be able to cope up with the situation. Now coming to the situation of civil rights issues, we know the basic issues of humanity is food, shelter, and clothing. We know that the whole globe, if we consider the employment situation, we can find that globally, out of 10 persons, 6 are engaged in informal sector. But if we consider for India, we can see that 9 out of 10 are involved in informal sector. In that situation, so due to this pandemic situation, the informal sector is in dwindled position. Informal sector is not working. Production has been down, and we see that there is a demand deficiency from all the respects. So if there is no demand, if we don't have money with us, so what to purchase and how to purchase? So even if we have supply, even if the prices is low, then it is not possible to us to buy the commodity. So we are facing a demand deficiency situation as we faced during 1930s when the whole globe faced Great Depression of 30s. It started from England, then it surfaced to the whole world. Now, what we are facing today, it is more than Great Depression of 30s because the informal sector persons have been hard hit, and this is a problem from their part of how to survive with this situation. Many of our persons involved in informal sector, they have lost their jobs, and after losing their jobs, it's a big question how to feed their family members, how to make a living, how to buy medicine, how to buy health facilities. So this is the problem, and due to this pandemic situation, everybody is in fear. Even if we have money, we cannot make use of it because all we are in the houses and we are in a panicky situation, and every time we are threatened. Now people are threatened, government is being threatened, and the whole globe is under threat. So we must have to come out this situation. So under this situation, we need human rights issues to revive. First of all, as the UNO and also World Bank and IMF, they are suggesting us that to look after the persons who are in dire need. In this situation, governments globally have been trying to provide direct cash transfer, and also some kinds of kind is delivered by the government. So this is urgently needed because those who have lost their jobs, those who are involved in care activities, especially the home workers, especially the women, they have lost their jobs because they are going to the master's house because everybody is in under restriction. So nobody is going to everybody's house. So under this situation, everybody has lost lot of jobs, and in this situation, the care work, the domestic servants, the workers who are engaged in agricultural sectors, they should be given huge amount of subsidy, and that subsidy should directly go to them. And in this under this situation, those who are in great need, the subsidies, the direct cash transfer should be provided to them. And here, no kind of politics should be done. So we must be above politics, we must be above religion, we must be above race and religion, and we must be benevolent, and we must come forward to all of them who are in need. And under this situation, the organizers, they have rightly arranged webinar, and this webinar will last 2 days. Today is the beginning, and in this seminar, many of the talented personalities who have earned names and fames, they are present, and
I think some technical issues is there. So has disconnected due to some technical fault. So we will wait for a few minutes.
who is currently the registrar of Raiganj University, Dr.
I think line has been disconnected due to some technical fault. So we will wait for 1 minute. So Kumari sir, can you hear me? Okay, so we are moving. This is sir.
Thank you. So I finished.
Okay, sir. So thank you very much, sir, for your illuminating and thought-provoking speech. You have covered each and every sector of the society, that is education, economy, and human right also. So thank you very much once again for being with us, sir. We are very fortunate that we got you as our inaugurator. Thank you very much once again, sir. So we are moving to our next. Next, we have with us Professor Sasinath Mandal. So I'm just giving you a little information about Dr. Sasinath Mandal. Dr. Sasinath Mandal is an associate professor of law and also served as Deputy Director of Public Instruction, West Bengal in 2015, and as Nodal Officer of HCCMC, Higher Education Department, Government of West Bengal in 2016 under the West Bengal Education Service. He has completed his LLB and LLM from BURDWAN University and PhD from the same university. Dr. Mandal has practiced for a couple of years as advocate in District Judge Court, BURDWAN, after his LLM in 2004 with a specialization in business law. He had joined Law College of Durgapur and shouldered the responsibility of as founder in charge of Law College Durgapur, Rajbandh Burdwan. His area of interest is jurisprudence, intellectual property law, administrative and constitutional law, cyber law, human rights law. He has published volumes of articles in national and international peer review journal. He has attended and chaired many national and international seminar, workshop, etc. in India and abroad. He is a regular trainer of WB administrative training, police training, judicial training academic, and many other centers of training throughout the nation. He has 4 books in his credit. Under his supervision, 4 researchers have completed their PhD. He is a member of many research journals in India and abroad. Dr. Mandal is a live member of Indian Institute of Public Administration, New Delhi. So over to you, sir. So please enlighten us by your speech.
First of all, namaskar everybody, and thank you, Sunil, Dr. Sunil Kumar Yadav, for giving me the opportunity here today. I am grateful to EGRA S.S.B College, who has extended me the opportunity to be the part of this wonderful program. Today's seminar, before I move into the subject, I am really very happy and sincerely express my obligation to Dr. Sunil Kumar Yadav, HOD of Commerce Department of EGRA S.S.B College, Dr. Deepak Tamilishar, the principal of EGRA S.S.B College, who has chosen me as a part of this two-day international webinar. I'm very happy that I am in a program where Professor Dr. Anil Bhuimali, a renowned academician and a known administrator, is the part of it. I'm happy to be with Dr. Durlabh Sarkar, the Registrar of Raiganj University, who is here with me. I'm really fortunate to be with Dr. Bhattacharya, Rajiv Bhattacharya, who is my senior colleague in the same service of West Bengal Education Service. Now, today's topic, I am coming to the topic, which is, for me, is a issue which is evergreen issue, because the civil rights, education, and economy, this three term is a moment which started since the civilization started. So the term civil rights, education, and economy is so interlinked and so connected to society that even it develops, it resolves, new developing challenges will arise definitely, because human are in nature dynamics. Therefore, the human always moves towards progression, and which always attract this new area of civil rights, education, and new height of economy. Before I move to the mainstream, that how this civil rights, education, and economy is interconnected and is helpful to the society, just I would like to focus on individual concepts. The civil rights, basically what we understand, this is basically an essential components of democracy. These components are guaranteed in the democratic part of the system. Basically, what we understand about civil rights are the rights which are related to right to life, right to liberty, right to cast vote, right to live with dignity, and millions of rights are there in different names. But the basic thing is that altogether they termed as basic civil rights or civil rights. So the civil rights are the rights which we always get for our fight, our struggle for survival. We always fight for survival, and during this survival, we used to get used to choose, used to select these civil rights one after another from time to time. These rights always depends on the circumstances. The rights for which a beggar is fighting, the right for which a middle class is fighting, the right for which higher class is fighting are always not the same. The people are there in the world who are fighting for roti, kapra or makan, the food, shelter and clothing. So this is the civil rights for them, because these are basic rights. We can term somewhere, as Professor Bhuimali has also said, sir, the human rights. So these are the basic human rights, which are basically civil rights. Some groups of people are fighting for the rights which are connected to life and leisure and liberty. So this life, leisure and liberty are also the very integrated part of civil rights. But one segment of people are looking for these rights. But altogether, these are rights which is always connected to the society. So these are civil rights. Another category of rights which are basically required for one group of people is the development. The rights which are connected to the development. What we have achieved, we are not satisfied. We are developing. We are developing day by day. And we are using those rights. And these are the rights democratically. These are essential for a growth, regular growth, gradual growth of society. So civil rights are basically those rights which are required in the fullest development of human being in the society. India is a country which suffered a lot in terms of enjoyment of civil rights. But for last 77, 80 years, we have been enjoying these rights. But for the first time, India passed a law called the Protection of Civil Rights Act 1955. And this 1955 Act was the first act which brought the concept of civil rights, the concept of protection of civil rights in India. And that was very, very meaningfully came before Indian society, because we suffered a lot. We had no idea about civil rights in practice. We had the idea of civil rights in paper. But before we got independence, these civil rights were only the rights in paper. We could not enjoy it. But after arrival of this law is the post-independence law, which came in 1955. And surprisingly, we got this law in 1955, but the very term civil right was not defined in its law. This very term civil rights defined and inserted in the same law in the definition clause in the year 1976, where the civil right says the civil rights are those rights which human being enjoyed after removal of untouchability. After removal of untouchability means this, in Indian perspective, the civil rights defined only in terms of untouchability that was provided under Article 17 of Indian Constitution, which is an offense. Practice of untouchability is an offense. And to remove this, we got this law where for the first time in India, we got a definition of civil rights. Okay. Now I'm coming to the second part, that is called education. We know that education has many elements. Education is the part of our system, is the part of our life. But what is education? Again, like civil rights, what is education? So what we generally mean that education is a process of receiving or giving systematic instruction, especially in systematized ways called school, college, or university. But why education? Why education? So education requires due to very simple but concrete reasons. So number one, as I do believe, is the education develops the process of reasoning and judgment in our mind. Secondly, it prepares oneself or others intellectually for a mature life. Thirdly, it really impart particular knowledge or skills for a profession. So education basically provides two important elements, two important faculty in our system, in our body, in our mind. One is to get a mature life, and second, to get a trained professional life. But this education is a system in our country where most of the people start education without any destination primarily. That is why Swami Vivekananda says, as he believes that education is the manifestation of perfection already in man. Why he believed? He also explained the same thing. He believed on that occasion when he given this idea that education is the manifestation of knowledge already in man, perfection already in man. He also says, he thought that it a pity that existing system of education did not enable a person to stand on his feet, nor did it teach him self-confidence or self-respect. So if you take Swamiji, education should impart a sense of self-respect and a sense of self-confidence. So education is that education which inculcate the idea of self-respect and the idea of self-confidence. So until the education able to do this, education is not a proper education, as Swamiji says. That is why he defined the education in a different way. He believed that external education, external instruction can only nurture our existing faculty, our existing perfection. No new thing we are learning, but we are just implanting the idea to develop our faculty. Now coming to the third term is called economy. Economy, as many economists says, that it is basically the state of a country or region in terms of the production and consumption of goods and services and the supply of money. But the topic itself is a fantastic one, as the economy is the product of education and the component or the quality of civil right one has provided in the system of a nation. The system, I quote, the system of the nation. So this education and civil right should be in the system. Then only we will get a better economy. Then only you will get a country with better economy. So the question of today's discussion, the topic of this international webinar is how this civil rights, education, and economy is interrelated, and what is the impact of these in our society. The object of today's seminar is fantastic one, to get the idea how we get a resourceful, a productive conclusion from this seminar in terms of the effect of civil rights and education on economy, or vice versa. Basically, being a student of law, what I believe that the civil rights and education are really interdependent. We know that the society started developing with the term called Magna Carta. And it's a very old term. And the moment of human rights, the rights of the human, has all face, all dependent, all source at this Magna Carta. And this Magna Carta appears only due to the arrival of concept of rights among the people. So if this concept of rights gave a sense of demand in the people, then we have to think on the civil rights. The civil rights are, as we discussed, that civil rights and education are interlinked. So civil rights, the quality of civil rights, the demand of civil rights are always depending on the quality of education we are extending. So in our society, we are basically focused on rights. But being a student of law, I should mention here that rights is never a complete one till one will perform its duty. That's why in law it says that right and duty are
Sorry for the interruption, but I think some technical problem is there. That's why our resource person and special guest has
am
been
I audible?
disconnected. Yeah, sir. Audible, sir. You can start, sir, please.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So we have to focus on what kind of rights are evolving in Indian perspective. Rights are focused everywhere, but duties are neglected. But without duty, right cannot progress. Without duty, right cannot be protected. Because when we are or somebody enjoying rights, as he is enjoying right because someone is performing duties corresponding to the right, that is left in a society. Basic focus is given on the civil rights only. And that crisis we have been facing every time. So civil rights, as we understand, that the rights which are basically connected to the democratic rights. And these democratic rights is not possible until we get some sort of education about the duties. So how these civil rights are protected? If we take the example, we get certain practices in our society where civil rights are still the question of the subject of lot of conditions, lot of promises. But civil rights has to be particular to get a better education, to get better economy. Civil rights are to be protected properly. We know we have lot of laws. The more important provisions regarding civil rights are provided under our constitution. Our constitution, two chapters, two parts are constitution, part 3 and part 4 are dealing with fundamental rights and directive principles of state policy. So these fundamental rights are the rights which are enforceable in the court of law. And these fundamental rights has included all fundamental rights are basically the civil rights. These are the composition of civil and political rights. So these civil and political rights are always protected by High Court as well as Supreme Court. Not only that, in Indian perspective, the judiciary came forward to protect the civil rights through the Constitution of India. And if anybody gets his right disturbed, then High Court and Supreme Court is there to protect. But since India, after getting independence, suffered a lot in poverty, in education. So it is not possible for everybody to move Supreme Court or High Court to get their civil right protected. That is why in 1976, two very famous jurists of India, Justice V.R. Krishna Iyer and Justice P.N. Bhagwati, came with a new concept called public interest litigation. And it was told that न्याय चलन दुखियन के द्वारे हम कोर्ट नहीं कोर्ट हमारे घर पधारे. There's a proverb, and this system, public interest litigation, got this idea that court has approached to the home of the litigants in order to move to the court. How? Because public interest litigation was a concept which was allowed by Justice V.R. Krishna Iyer in 1976 in one case, Abdul Bhai versus Mumbai Kamgar Sabha, very famous case. In this case, for the first time, Supreme Court hold that even a right violated by anybody, and if a person not able to move to Supreme Court or High Court through writs. The writ is a term which is used for extend the protection against the violation of fundamental rights. 5 writs are there. So except this writ, anyone can move. It's a technical term which needs the expertise of law. That's why Supreme Court opened the door that law is not required. Even a non-law people having education, having knowledge, can move forward and can come before the court through public interest litigation. But that was not sufficient. Supreme Court moved forward, and in one case in 1989, in Ram Pyari versus Union of India case, Supreme Court held that even writing a letter in the name of a judge of Supreme Court can also be treated as a bill, and necessary writ can be issued. Say for example, if anywhere, if a mill or rice mill is running and it is violating the civil rights of getting healthy air, pollution-free air of the people, which is a civil right and protected as fundamental right under our constitution, under Article 21 of the Constitution, if any person feel that entire society is suffering from pollution due to an industry, he can move to Supreme Court directly. Even he may not be subject matter of that violation. Even he may not suffer for the cause of others. If others have been suffering, any person, interested person, can move to Supreme Court or High Court through appeal, and Supreme Court or High Court take action. We have the example that from Delhi, one lawyer, very famous lawyer N.C. Mehta, has moved a lot of bills before Supreme Court, and due to that, a lot of cases were resolved by Supreme Court, and all factories within a radius of 15 kilometers of NCT, National Capital Territory of Delhi, were relocated or closed. Supreme Court given the direction of relocation, but many industrialists closed that also. About 484 industries were moved only in the name of civil rights. So this is one classic example what can be done for the protection of civil rights by the Indian judiciary. Second important issue, for the relation of education and civil rights. As we know, the civil rights means right to education, right to movement, right to speech and expression. So our constitution, from Article 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, these all are covering the civil rights. That's why Article 15 says we all are equal, equality for law and equal protection of law. And this is the very sense, very purpose of these civil rights. All should get equal opportunity. Article 15, 16 is a particular application of this right to equality. So these are the provisions which have given under Indian Constitution to protect the rights called civil rights of the people, so that the people can get fullest of enjoyment of their rights provided under Fundamental Right Chapter. Moreover, just in the name of civil rights, what judiciary did? Judiciary take the principles which was given under direct principle of state policy, which was basically not justiciable. But Supreme Court came forward in the name of civil rights, take the policies, the principles laid down under Chapter 4, direct principle of state policy, given from Article 36 to Article 51. One after another. Say for one classic example before all of us is the right to education. Right to education was a right which was two-dimensional basically when you got the Constitution. Article 45 is a part of that dimension of state policy. And Article 45 included this right to education. So right to education was confined within a principles of directives where the government had a duty to make laws. But after 30, 40 years, government failed to take care of those rights. That's why Supreme Court came forward, and finally in 1986, they gave a decision which was effected in 2002 by an amendment of the Constitution, and we got new article called Article 21A, whereby all children from 6 to 14 years of age are eligible, have the right to get free and compulsory education. So this right was not there as civil right, it was the principles. But judiciary brought this principle, converted it into right, and put it through a case. But finally, only to implement the principles laid down by Supreme Court, the Parliament had to brought an amendment in 2002, and we got Article 21A. Before that, right to education was only brought by Supreme Court under Article 21 as a part of life, right to life. So in this way, the concept of civil rights emerged from time to time, developed from time to time, from one after our Sunil, am I running out of time?
No,
Okay,
yes, sir.
okay. So just I'm concluding within 4 or 5 minutes. Okay. Now, another important issue I would like to focus here, that the opportunities. The opportunities, the most important part of the civil rights are opportunities. The focus of civil rights is also an opportunities, to create opportunities for all, irrespective of any grounds, like any caste, sex, place of birth, religion, whatever. And our law, our constitution also brought the same ideas, taking the protection of civil rights as priority, brought these under Article 15, 16, 17. What? That all facilities, opportunities should be equally given to everybody. All citizens of India will get equal opportunities in all public services. And we're enjoying this. We're enjoying this. But one thing regarding the civil rights and education is right to education. The right to education, as I've discussed, the education is definitely a civil right which evolved by judiciary, and we got nowadays all children from 6 to 14 are eligible, have the right to get free and compulsory education from the state. And it is the duty of the state to extend free and compulsory education to child from 6 to 14. But what happened after 14? Supreme Court considered that also. And we know that when we got our constitution, there was only one condition of creating this chapter 4 or part 4 of the constitution, was a slight difference between part 3 and part 4. Part 3 was the right which was given or shouldered on the state, but part 4 was a responsibility which was vested and depending on the option of the state. One incident I would like to share here, very interesting incident. When Dr. Ambedkar was about to create this part 4, finalize part 4, Nehruji objected, why we are creating another chapter when we are not able to do that. Then Ambedkar told, okay, no issue, put all these rights what we are discussing for part 4 into part 3. Then House says, no, we are economically not able to extend these rights. That is why we are creating a separate chapter. Whenever India will become economically able to protect those rights, one by one they take this from part 4 and bring to part 3 to protect the civil rights of the people. But basically it is a fallacy of our system that parliaments are not, even I can say, reluctant to bring any provisions from part 3 to part 4 to part 3 without any inclination or force by judiciary through different decisions. But in this case also, Supreme Court take the initiatives and bring the principles, converted that principles into right, and we are enjoying these civil rights from principles as a fundamental right. Beside this constitution also, we got a lot of mechanism to protect our civil rights. Many mechanisms. Number one is, very famous one, is the protection of our human rights. In the name of human rights, our civil rights are also protected. Human right, the Protection of Human Rights Act was passed in 1993, and through that act, a commission was appointed in two-dimensional commission. That is a national level and the state level. There is a National Human Rights Commission and a State Human Rights Commission. So anybody's, if human rights is violated by any public servant or public office, they can move to National Human Rights Commission or State Human Rights Commission. But you have to remember that this national and state is a parallel forum, is not the appellate forum. Like Supreme Court, High Court, it is not appellate. It is a parallel forum. We can either move to national or to state. But till date, these all are recommendatory body. They can recommend it. They can recommend. But since we know that the impact of the recommendation is reflected in the annual report, which is discussed and placed before the parliament, and in case of state, before the assembly. That's why it has a political value. That's why it is most of the time it is operated or it is respected. Another is the Women Commission, SC/ST Commission, Child Commission. So these commissions are also it is quasi-judicial bodies having got the power of civil court. Means they can call anybody, they can take evidence like civil court. They are given the power like civil court. That's why they can, force sometime, they can request sometime for the protection of civil rights of different groups for what they have been created. Say for example, Women Rights Commission for Women Rights has been created to protect the rights of women, and they are doing this. SC/ST Commission has been created to protect their rights, and they are doing this. Child Commission has been created to protect their rights, so they are doing this. So civil rights, these are the segmented civil rights of women, children, SC/ST are protected separately. Beside this general protection through courts, the special protection also given to the special classes of people in India. But these altogether, the civil right and education are always connected, because as we discussed, until we get proper education, the implementation of the civil rights cannot be proper one. Therefore, this education and civil rights can be termed as complementary and supplementary. If you have better education, we will have a better protection of civil rights. If you have poor education, we have poor protection of civil rights, because today is always the fight between rights and education are ongoing. Relation between fight and education are ongoing. This right and education are interdependent. Until we get right, we cannot get proper education under all circumstances. Yes, if I have a lot of money, I am able to incur on education, I'll get education. But if I am not, I cannot. But if I have the education, I can fight for the right. And if I have the right, I can get free and compulsory education like we are getting today. So these are very interconnected theories. And in law, a lot of theories are depending on this education and rights called civil rights. With this, I hope I have taken a lot of time, Sunil. Anyway, thank you everybody. And thank you, Sunil, for providing me the opportunity to share my views on this August gathering. And I would like to mention another thing also. I'm really very delighted and happy that I am the part of NAV-BANDHAN. NAV-BANDHAN is, as Sunil sir has explained, and it is a body, is a non-profit body which is doing its best through its alumni for the society, for their present students, and for the nation too, with the help of everybody. With this, thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you very much, sir, for enlightening us. You have given us an idea about what are our right what are our duty. That is the basic need for at present to get your things, what you want to do or what you have to do. So thank you very much once again, sir. So
Thank you.
without delaying any further, we would like to start our technical session. To listen our esteemed speaker, we have with us Dr. Durlabh Sarkar, Registrar of Raiganj University. So, sir, please, I'm giving you a brief introduction. Dr. Durlabh Sarkar is presently working as registrar at Raiganj University. Previously, Dr. Sarkar has worked as associate professor in management in Royal University of Bhutan and as professor and director at Delhi School of Professional Studies and Research, New Delhi, under Guru Gobind Singh Indraprasth University. Formerly, he was also the head Department of Management at DSMS Business School, Durgapur, West Bengal, under WBUT, and worked as lecturer in University of North Bengal under the university and other university under different teaching positions. Dr. Sarkar completed his PhD from University of North Bengal, West Bengal in the year 2012. Being a management scholar, Dr. Sarkar has completed his MBA degree from University of Kalyani, West Bengal, and completed FDPM from Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad, having more than 18 years of teaching, research, consultancy, administrative, and industry experience. Dr. Sarkar has authored 2 books, more than 15 research articles in national and international journals, and presented more than 21 research papers and attended workshops in different levels. Dr. Sarkar had been the editor of a peer review management journal and review a book on Vedanta for Modern World, jointly authored with Professor Ajay Kumar Singh, Professor, Delhi School of Economics, and it was published in Delhi's Business Review in the year 2014. We are honored to have Dr. Sarkar as resource person for this webinar. Today, he will be delivering his lecture on challenges for university in India in context of academic administration under COVID-19 pandemic. So now session is yours, sir. Please enlighten us. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yeah. You are audible, sir.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
Okay. So thank you very much. Dr. Sunil Kumar Jadhav. He was constantly communicating with me from few days, and he was so much cooperative and cordial with me to organize everything from our part. I would like to thank all the organizing committee members from Department of Commerce, EGRA, S.S.B College. I would like to thank Dr. Deepak Kumar Tamili, the principal, EGRA, S.S.B College. Would like to thank Dr. Shoshinath Mondol, who has given wonderful speech on civil rights, and I was listening to him and came to know so many things from his speech. Would like to thank Dr. Rajiv Bhattacharya. Would like to thank CMA Purnendu Basu, who is from Bhutan, who is the international participant today. And would like to thank Professor Uttam Kumar Datto, who is very familiar to me and very respected. Would like to thank Professor Shankar Kumar Acharya. Would like to thank Professor Sanjeev Kumar Tiwari. And above all, I would like to thank my respected Honorable Vice Chancellor of Raiganj University, who has given his precious time for inauguration of this 2-day international seminar. I would like to thank all the participants from all over the world, especially my friends from Bhutan. I hope that Bhutanese weather and the roads are okay. And I especially would like to mention one person's name, without whom it is not possible for me to join here, is Professor Devashish Shur. Probably sir is here. So would like to thank Professor Shur. He is being constant inspiration to me. So my topic for today is challenges of higher education in the context of academic administration under COVID-19 pandemic. Now, being an academic administrator, being the registrar of one state-aided university, every time what the challenges and problems we are facing and how we are overcoming and dealing all these problems under this COVID-19 pandemic, it's a lifetime experience for all of us. And see, today I am in the office. It's an entire the state is under lockdown, but I came to office because tomorrow we have to give the advertisement for UG admission in newspaper, and I have to do a lot of work. So after this discussion, again I have to start the work. See, so being an administrator, every time we are facing challenges, and how to tackle these challenges in this pandemic. This is a big question. We do not know when the students will come to the university. We do not know when the COVID-19 will finish. We do not know when the students will go to the schools, because being a parent, I won't send my kid to the school right now. So being the parents, the students of this university, they won't send their students to the university for the classes. So when the classes will start? We are getting so many guidelines from UGC. We are getting so many advisories from higher education. But the thing is that being an administrator, basically we are sandwiched between these two bodies. On 29th April, we received one guideline from UGC that students should not appear for the examination physically. On the basis of that, we went to Kolkata, attended the meeting with Honorable MIC and higher education officials, and we have received one advisory from Department of Higher Education that there will be 80-20 formula, and 80% weightage will be taken from the previous semester's result, and 20% will be internal assessment marks. We have organized faculty council meeting. We have decided like through 80-20 we will go. But suddenly on 6th July, we have received another guideline from UGC that we have to conduct the examination. Now the situation is that what and how we will tackle this problem. We are waiting for some good communication from different regulatory bodies and UGC and higher education. We are waiting. But in between, we have to work. We cannot stop work. So, during March, April, May, June, these 4 months is a lifetime experience for all of us, that how to deal the situations in higher education institute or an university, keeping in mind the interest of the students. Students are the priority of all of us. Students are facing tremendous mental problem and stress nowadays. They do not know what they have to do. They are very confused. What they have to do, they do not know. So as a guide, as a counselor of the students, every time we have to motivate them. And during this crisis period, what my VC is also, very much, inspiring to all of us. And he says that teachers are the change agents during crisis period. If you see the history, all over the world, if you see the history, take the history, teachers are the change agents of the society. If society faces any crisis, we have seen teachers have taken the role, teachers have taken the initiative, and teachers acted as change agent to change the society. Now the crisis, we are facing crisis now. So we believe that teachers should take the leading role to change this society, to motivate the students. Students are under distress. They cannot pay their admission fees nowadays. Very recently, we have faced a problem that before lockdown, we had to take our admission for UG 2nd, 4th, 6th, PG 2nd and 4th semester. And during this lockdown, that in the month of March, we could not take this. Students, they have to take admission because as per our university regulation, if they do not take admission, they cannot sit for the examination. Now, they did not take admission, but as per the advisory, they have to sit for, they have to, their results to be published within 31st of July. So they did not take admission. So what to do? We have notified. Immediately we have notified. During this lockdown period, the students all together, they came and agitated in front of our main gate. So what to do? We have understood. We have placed this issue in our grievance committee meeting, and our grievance committee has thought the issue, has sincerely considered their problem, their parents' problem, and we have reduced their fees, half fees. Now admission is still now going on, and we hope that everything will be fine by 31st of July. So such kinds of problems we are facing. Not only in India, the students who are in US, UK, China, in such countries, they are also facing problems. What problems? Some countries, they have made some new rules that if you do online classes, you won't be allowed as a student of this country. So a huge number of students from India, they go abroad for their study. So they are also facing tremendous problem. Next is that our IITs, they have their infrastructure. IIT, they can adopt online teaching learning system because of their technology and infrastructure and etc. they can do. But a new university like Raiganj University, where we are having 12,000 students, and most of the students, they do not have mobile phones, and the internet connectivity is very poor because they are coming from remote rural areas. How they can do their online classes? How they can appear for online exam? How we will tackle this problem? Out of 12,000 students, 7,000 students are complaining that they do not have mobile phone. How they will do their classes? So teachers are also facing problem that they want to take classes in online, but the infrastructure is not there. The students are coming from Hemtabad, rural area of Uttar Dinajpur district. They do not have. So how to tackle this situation? It's a huge challenge for us. Though we have started in our website one e-learning software for the student, and we have taken it as opportunity during crisis period for the university, that during crisis period we will experiment with this, and so many things can be adopted time by time, so that in future online system to be a parallel system along with the classroom teaching, that can be thought out. Next is the major concern for the university is that when the university will reopen, the health, safety and security of the students, health, safety, security of the faculties, health, safety, security of the staff member, non-teaching staff member, all are going to be very crucial for us. Local administration, like our municipality, fire brigade, every week they are sanitizing all the departments at Raiganj University. We are having here 23 departments at Raiganj University, and local administration, they are helping. But when a large number of students will come, large number of teachers will come, large number of non-teaching staff will come, how to tackle the keeping the safe distance between them, then whether they are wearing mask or not, all these things to be taken care of. So this is going to be a very, very concern for university nowadays. Though we have procured some of the sanitizer machines here, and we are giving training to our non-teaching staff to how to tackle all these, that SMS, that how to encourage, how to make aware the students to wear the mask, keep safe distance and all. So we are giving training to our, we are imparting training to our non-teaching staff. We have made a roster duty. So for 23 departments, weekly 2 days, the arts departments, their non-teaching staff are coming, and weekly 2 days, science departments, their non-teaching staff are coming. So we are giving them training that if the situation will be normal and how they will deal the students. Then the important issue is that examination that I have discussed, that we have to, as per the advisory of the state government, Department of Higher Education, we have to publish our result by 31st of July. Next is that admission, that UG admission has to be started from 10th of August. Though it will be totally online admission process, but the thing is that previously our experience is that the students, they generally come to the university, though it is online, but they come with their parents, they inquire different things. So this time I have an apprehension that whether they and their parents again they come to the main gate or not. So we have asked the concerned person that it will be strictly observed that no student or their parents are allowed for any kind of query. We have given helpline numbers, 3 helpline numbers, and different other measures like email IDs and everything is given to the students that they should not visit to the campus. Another important issue we are facing problem at our university is that PhD and research activities. The PhD related activities we have started through online, but we have started this system immediately within these 4 months, and we have asked the scholars to submit their thesis through PDF file, and their viva also we are taking through online. But as because it is a new system and register section is dealing with all these official modalities of PhD, so there are some issues which we have to face for continuing PhD related activities. Next is that though we do not have colleges under our university, we are unitary university and we are running UG and PG courses in our 23 departments. But think about the universities which are having colleges under them. So the giving instructions and guidelines to the colleges are going to be very crucial. Like the academic calendar. Academic calendar has been changed abruptly this year. We do not know. The 1920 academic calendar has been disturbed, and 2021 we do not know whether students will come and do their classes and what will be their academic calendar. So there is a question. Our main concern is now is that the staff and administrative staff who are coming to the university right now, as because there is an order from Department of Higher Education that Office of the Vice Chancellor, Office of the Registrar, Office of the Finance Officer, Office of the Controller of Examination shall remain open during this lockdown period, and the staff are coming. Though we have made roster and the staff are coming, but Raiganj now it is COVID affected, and the people who are coming, the staff who are coming to the universities, we have to think about their health and safety, etc. So this is very important issue for us, because controller of examination has to publish the result. Registrar section has to open up for payroll system as well as PhD work, as well as some other administrative activities. Office of the finance officer should remain open, and the staff of all these departments are coming. So their health, safety and security is very important for us. Next is that our science laboratories. Last day in another webinar I was also discussing, in our science laboratories we have different cultures, we have bacteria, we have rats, we have guinea pigs, we have silkworm in sericulture department. So to feed them, we need to engage some staff, and from last 4 months we are facing tremendous problem on it. So bacteria and cultures are dying. If you do not bring out from the lab in sunlight, they will die. But due to the shortage of staff, the labs are facing huge problems in university. Next is that if we think that admission is coming up on 10th of August, think about the universities like Presidency and Jadavpur, where the entrance test take place. Entrance test, whether they will take or not, it is a big concern for the universities like Presidency and Jadavpur, whether the students will physically appear for entrance test or online system or whatever, or without any entrance test, that might be done. We do not know. But being an academic administrator, we are facing such kinds of challenges. But as I told you, that being a positive person, we always think positive, and we are taking this as opportunity for the university to start the massive open online courses. That facility, UGC has started this initiative through through NPTEL, that started by 7 IITs and IISc. NPTEL, it is a massive open online course run by IIT, and Ministry of HRD has funded on these massive open online courses, where plenty of courses can be done through online. So these things were neglected before this COVID-19 crisis. Universities, they were not pondering, they were not seriously thinking about the online courses like MOOC, but the time has come right now to start the traditional course materials to be uploaded in the website or through online system, then filmed lectures, interactive courses, so that students can see all these things through online, community interactions with the professors, with the non-teaching staff or teaching assistant or students. There should be a communication through online. So a parallel online system to be implemented, to be installed in our university system, so that if such kinds of crisis happens again, so that the students should not be affected. Students, those students do not have mobile phones, so university should think what is to be done for them. Next is the university, the Indian universities, they do not allow till date, I mean before COVID-19, the online degree courses. 20% of the courses were online degree or online certificate courses. UGC sanctioned this, but now the gate they have made open. Now UGC is giving stress that most of the courses should be done through online. Even in mechanical engineering or some of the engineering courses, they have started, like IIT Bombay has started the mechanical engineering courses through online. So they are having their one software platform, Swayam and NPTEL they are using, and so they are imparting the online courses. And country like Bhutan, one of my Bhutanese friend is here. Royal University of Bhutan has started VLE, that virtual learning environment. That means it is a totally an online teaching learning software a few years back. So Royal University Bhutan has started this, and their students, they are getting the facilities of this. So we, the universities, we should think upon all these software to be implemented in our university system. So a parallel system should run if such kinds of crisis happens. One of the very important thing I would like to share with you, that All India University, they had a huge demand from last few years, that to start HEFC. That HEFC is Higher Education Financial Corporation, to be established, and they will provide the soft loans to the students as well as higher education institutes, so that the universities which are having crunch-in fund, they can take some loans from such professional higher education financial corporation and start some new ventures. So students can take some loans for their new startup business and etc. So the time has come. I mean, the crisis gives us the opportunity, that we believe. And if there is opportunity, so we can think about HEFC, the Higher Education Finance Corporation, and it will be an independent financial institution to support higher education on a long-term basis. And UGC and MHRD can think about this HEFC. Then Higher Education Council, that is also a demand of All India University. Higher Education Council, HEC, to be set up. That means all the regulatory bodies and everything will be under a single umbrella. And then the administration and management for the higher learning institutes or universities will be smooth enough. So these are the opportunities we are having under crisis. Next is that to improve the colleges, all the information, communication, technology facilities in all the colleges. Lots of colleges are there, they do not have a minimum infrastructure of ICT. So now the time has come to think to get some funds from different funding agencies and to start a new ICT system for their colleges. Like now we are using Cisco WebEx or Google Meet or some other Zoom or some other software for these kinds of webinar. Now the time has come for the colleges and university to set up their own system right now for the future crisis. If there are same problems happening in future, so they can adopt it and they can do it. So I think I have covered most of the things, the challenges we are facing, but I would like to hear from your end that if you have any doubts or any queries or anything I can share from my part. So I would like to thank everyone out here. I would like to thank Sunil, and I would like to thank all the participants. I wish you a wonderful international webinar. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your nice deliberation. And now the time for question answer session. So one question we got from one of our participants. that's in remote area, sir, how the government could develop the infrastructure for internet. Actually, till now, only 24% people have access to internet and smartphones and computers. So how could this problem be removed?
Yes, very recently, 2 or 3 days back, I was hearing our Honorable Prime Minister, and that he was saying that in this crisis period, most of the people from rural areas, they are using mobile phones and smartphones comparing to the urban people. So I hope that thing will go on, and within very short period of time, this thing can be developed. And the internet service providers, that means the mobile phone companies, the internet providers, they should improve their connectivity in rural areas so that this thing can be improved.
Okay, thank you, sir. So, anyone, if you want to ask any question, please put it into the comment box. Till now, I did not getting any question. Actually, sir, you have covered everything very clearly. So I think it is clear to all of them. That's why we are not getting much question from the participants. So once again, thank you very much, sir, for giving us your valuable time and explaining everything very clearly, in very lucid manner. That was not by us, as you are the registrar, so you have lots of information about UGC rules and regulations. So thank you very much once again, sir, for your nice deliberation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Sir.
you. Thank you.
Okay. So now we are moving to our next resource person, none other than Dr. Rajiv Bhattacharya from Goenka College of Commerce and Business Administration. So first I would like to thank Dr. Durlabh Sarkar. Thank you, sir, for such a wonderful, illuminating, thought-provoking speech. It's of great help for us to understand the issues very clearly. Thank you very much, sir, once again. So now we are moving to our next resource person, Dr. Rajiv Bhattacharya. We are privileged to have Dr. Rajiv Bhattacharya as a resource person. Dr. Rajiv Bhattacharya is an associate professor, WESA, in the Department of Economics, Goenka College of Commerce and Business Administration, Kolkata, India. He obtained his bachelor degree in economics from Xavier College, Kolkata, and his master's degree in economics from University of Calcutta. He did his MPhil and PhD in economics, both from University of Calcutta. He has 19 years of teaching experience at UG and PG level. His field of interest include international trade, finance, Indian economic development, and women empowerment. He has contributed a good number of scholarly articles in reputed international and national journal and chapter in books. He has delivered invited lecture in many UGC-sponsored seminar, webinar, conferences. He also served as a member of editorial board of many reputed national and international level journals. He had been conferred the Best Paper Award in the International Seminar on Recent Trend and Perspective in Economics on January 2016. He has very recently edited a book entitled Gain and Pain of Financial Integration and Trade Liberalization, Lesson from Emerging Economies, that has been published in Emerland Publishing Limited, UK. So we are once again honored to have Dr. Rajiv Bhattacharya as our resource person in this webinar. Today he will be delivering his lecture on macroeconomic issues and challenges after Corona. So now the session is yours, sir. Please enlighten us. So kindly unmute yourself.
Please allow me the permission to share my screen.
Yes, sir, please start yourself.
Is it visible? Is it visible?
Yes, sir, 1 minute, sir.
May I start?
Yes, sir, you can start, sir.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. First of all, respected Principal, EGRA S.S.B College, Professor, respected Professor Anil Bhuimali, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Raiganj University, Dr. Shashinath Mondal, my once colleague in B.VOC College, Dr. Durlabh Sarkar, Register Raiganj University, and my co-speaker, Purnendu Basu, and other dignitaries, teachers, friends, and students, and all other present in this webinar. I would first like to convey my heartiest thanks to the organizers of EGRA S.S.B College for inviting me to share my thoughts on a topic which has been the issue of discussion over the last few months. It has attracted the highest attention of the people in media's debates, discussions all around the world. My lecture will be in the form of a PowerPoint presentation. It is based on the recent findings and reports of the various world institutions like the World Bank, the OECD, the UNCTAD, the World Development Indicator, the WTO, and in case of India, the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Center for Monitoring of the Indian Economy, Directorate of Foreign Trade, Economic Survey, and so on. But before going to the structure of my presentation, formal presentation, let me briefly describe the present situation facing the globe due to the COVID pandemic. The COVID-19 pandemic has struck a devastating blow to the already fragile global economy. Lockdowns and other restrictions needed to address the public health crisis together with spontaneous reduction in economic activity by many consumers and producers constitute an unprecedented combination of adverse shock that is causing deep recessions in many advanced economies and emerging markets and developing economies, which we together call as EMDEs. These EMDEs that have weak health systems, those that rely heavily on global trade, tourism, or remittances from abroad, and those that depend on commodity exports are particularly hard hit. Beyond the short-term impact, deep recessions triggered by the pandemic are likely to leave long-lasting scars through multiple channels, including lower global trade, including lowering of investments, erosion of human capital of the unemployed, a retreat from the global trade and supply linkages. These effects may lower the potential growth and the labor productivity in the long run. So what is needed is immediate policy measures to support the healthcare systems and moderate the short-term impact of the pandemic on activity and employment. In addition to, we need a comprehensive reform drive that can reduce the adverse impact on the pandemic in the long run growth prospects by improving governance and business environment, at the same time expanding investment in education and public health. Now, my lecture is divided into three major parts. One is the introductory part, the COVID pandemic and the health catastrophe and its economic and social impact, a brief introduction. In the macroeconomic part, which is the main part of my presentation, I have chosen a few areas due to the time shortage. I have chosen India and global impact on output, say, impact on various sectors, impact on the labor market, and issue E, D, and E will focus mainly on India-China trade relations, the issue of the China's imperialist policy and the boycott strategy, whether India can boycott it, and together the related issue of Atmanirbhar Bharat and the self-reliance. And last of all, I will touch upon the education sector, the traditional versus online education. And also, I will last of all try to hint on the policies to overcome the crisis. Now, as for we know, this is the health pandemic resulted in a health catastrophe, and it also resulted in an economic and so adverse impact on the society. Now, people did not predict. It had already proved that this kind of health pandemic can be more fatal than the devastations of a war. It has really brought the greatest challenge to the mankind and has brought the world to a standstill, because it has put the biggest challenge to the mankind in the form of life, livelihood, and both. In this connection, one may state that the infection rate of the COVID appears to be higher than that of the earlier SARS outbreak in 2003 and the MERS outbreak in 2012. Now, if we think, before going to the macroeconomic impact, if we think imagine the series of events that actually followed the pandemic. It started with the health crisis, then it resulted in a rise in infection and the morbidity, the country-wise lockdown and the social distancing measures, the containment measures practiced. It resulted in a disruption in the supply chain and a normal production process, and that resulted in a joblessness and unemployment, poverty, and a lack of effective demand and a recessionary trend. The unique feature of this crisis, as distinct from the earlier ones, is it is a crisis of two incisors, both the lack of effective demand as well as the supply bottlenecks, that has resulted in the second innings of the crisis, that is basically the economic crisis, which has resulted in a fall in GDP, a fall in trade, unemployment, a fall in capital flows and remittances, a closure of small businesses, a shortage of skill, and a fall in productivity. That has resulted in a shrinkage of the economy, a low tax collection, with a huge increase in otherwise expenditure, resulting in problems of budget deficit and the problems of financing the monetary and fiscal stimulus and other packages. And that has been a concern of the health crisis, and that has been related to the third crisis, in fact, the changes in the education and the social relation. So let me go into the macroeconomic impact, the first impact on the output and the GDP. This is an earlier projection being made. This is an earlier projection being made by the OECD long back in March 2020, where they predicted that the world economy is going to grow by 2.4% as opposed to 2.9%, and the European Union's by 0.8% as opposed to 1.2%. And the adverse impact on confidence, the financial markets, the travel sectors, the disruptions of the supply chain contributes the downward revision to all G20 nations, and particularly those interconnected strongly with China, like Japan, the Korea, and the Australia. The latest report came in June 2020, where the World Bank published the global economic prospects, whereby the globe is going to contract according to their predictions. As you can see, the first line is the fourth column of the first line, the world is going to contract by minus 5.2%, the growth rate minus 5.2%. And in advanced economies, minus 7%, United States, minus 6.1, Euro areas, minus 9.1, Japan, minus 6.1. In this way, China, only 1%. And in case of India, long down the order, you can see that in India, the growth rate has been revised by the World Bank as minus 3.2%. So all is registering a negative growth due to the COVID pandemic. Now, let me come into the second aspect of the macroeconomic problem, that is the problem of the job scenario. It is said that it has turned the world from a jobless growth to the job loss growth. The health shock has already turned into an economic and a labor market shock, where it has deep and far-reaching unprecedented impact on the economy in the form of declining working hours and also the loss of employment. According to ILO April 20 figures, the full and the partial lockdown are affecting 2.7 billion workers, almost 81% of the global labor force. And this employment layoff temporary reduction in work time is causing tremendous reduction in salary and the wage payments of the workers, particularly in the informal sector, the middle and the low income wage groups. A beautiful work has been done by McKibben and Fernando 2020, according to the ILO, that indicates 3 scenarios as possible. In the low scenario case where GDP is going to drop by 2%, the global unemployment is going to increase by 5.3% with an uncertainty of 3.5 to 7 million. In the mid scenario, the GDP is going to drop by 4% and the global unemployment will increase by 13 million with an uncertainty of 7.7 to 18.3 million. And in the high scenario case, more disruptive effects that the GDP is going to drop predictably by 8% and the global unemployment will increase by 24.7 million with an uncertainty of 13 to 36 million. Now you can imagine you can estimate the severity of the crisis, but according to the ILO, not all the sectors were equally affected. The red are the affected ones, the more severe ones, highly affected ones, the manufacturing, the wholesale, the retail trade, the real estate, the administrative activity, the accommodation, the aviation sector, the food services, the restaurants, and so on. The medium high affected ones are art, entertainment, recreation, transport, goods, storage, and communication. The medium affected ones are construction, financial activities, mining and quarrying, and the agriculture, forestry and fishery, the low medium affected, and also the education, human health and social other activities are low affected, along with public administration and the defense services and utilities. So we can estimate also the differences in the impact on the significance of the impact on the various sectors on the economy. Now, a beautiful work has been done by the Ajimji Premji University, Mehrotra and Palita, which has published their work in October 2009. And they say that prior to Corona, Indian economy's condition was not good. Indian economy has been passing through an unprecedented decline in the trends of unemployment if we compare the figures of 11-12 to that of 2017-18. And this decline is mainly due to the fall in employment in agriculture, manufacturing, and the slow growth of construction jobs, and the process of structural transformation which gained momentum from the post-2004 period and has stalled in 2012. The mounting educated youth employment and the lack of quality of non-farm jobs has resulted in an increase in disheartenment of jobs. So now, if we consider the youth unemployment at all levels of education that has been published in their report, and we compare it with 11-12 to 17-18, we find across all sections, starting from illiterate to primary to middle to secondary to higher secondary to graduate to PG to technical to vocational, in all sectors from 11-12 to 17-18, the unemployment has increased, youth unemployment has increased, and it has been the most severely affected one is the degree with technical education. You can see 37.3% the unemployment rate. So already economy was passing through a slowdown period. Now let us come to the work that has been published by the Center for CMIE. They say that the leftward side figure shows that according to the Consumer Pyramids Household Survey, 52% job loss will be among the 40 years people employment or young age or ages below 40 years. The job losses for the young population had serious implications to consumer demand and saving. On the right hand side, we have portrayed a figure that has been published by the CMIE. Between 22nd March and 29th March 2020, there was a sudden hike in the unemployment rate from a mere 8.4% to 23.8%. It has been published, and according to them, this sharp fall, that was the result of a sharp fall in the labor force participation rate to almost 39%. Now let us move into the trade scenario. I will start with a statement by the WTO's Director General Roberto Azevedo. The unavoidable declines in trade and output will have painful consequences for the household businesses and on top of human sufferings caused by the disease itself. And the WTO economists predicted that it is likely to depress the world trade more than the situation that the global financial crisis had seen in 2008-9. The WTO's prediction is a decline in the world trade by 13 to 32%. And you can see the trend line, the dotted line, and the structural break lines, the blue lines, merchandise trade, and the optimistic scenario. The green line again broke in 2020, and there are two scenarios which are possible: optimistic and the pessimistic scenario. Optimistic scenario is the green break line, and the pessimistic scenario is the red break line, but both are regarded as a structural break. Although they say that trade was already passing through a very declining trend prior to the virus struck in 2019, overweighted by the trade tensions, the Sino-American trade war, and the slow economic growth. And corona pandemic further deteriorated the situation. If we look into the two scenarios that are possible, that has been a beautiful work published by the World Bank, and they say that two scenarios are possible. One is the optimistic scenario, where a sharp drop in the trade followed by recovery in the second half of the 2020. It seems today it is almost impossible, as the corona pandemic is extending its death rate and the infection rate to a great extent. A more pessimistic scenario, a steeper initial decline, and a more prolonged and incomplete. We can also think of a combination of the two, where a sharp decline in 2020 volume of trade has been combined with an equally dramatic rebound and bringing trade much closer to the lines of the optimistic scenario in 2021-22. And the below figure shows that the ratio of the world merchandise trade to the world GDP ratio. We can see both the lines, the blue line, the world trade volume growth, and the red line, the world GDP growth rate, both showing a declining trend in 2020. Two aspects distinguish the crisis downturn from the other previous financial crisis are the role of the value chain and the trade in services. Trade is likely to fall steeply in sectors that are characterized by value chain, more complex value chain linkages, particularly those in the electronics and the automotive products. Now let us move into the trade scenario of India. You see, there is a marginal improvement in the trade balance as the exports improved marginally and there was a fall in imports. But if we look into the composition of the world trade, depending on the Directorate of Foreign Trade, the latest report, we will see that India exports mainly to USA, UAE, People's Republic of China, the percentages are shown in the brackets, and India imports the major nations from which the India imports this, and the first nation is China. That is, India imports 14% of its total merchandise exports from China, and then comes the USA, then comes the UAE. What does India import from China? The machinery, transport equipment, and the chemicals. And over time, if we see the figures, the machinery, transport equipment has outweighed that of the chemicals. What type of equipments and materials? Now, the transport equipments and machineries, office machineries, automatic data processing machineries, electrical machineries and appliances, telecommunications, sound recording system, power generating machineries in medical and pharmaceutical products. Though the share has declined, but still 40% are still made by China. Now, if you look into the decline in the trade in major commodity groups, we will see this major items between March 2019 and March 2020 resulted in a decline. Rice, oil mills, meat, dairy products, engineering, ready-made garments, handmade carpets, ores, minerals, tea, cereals, major items, petroleum products, cotton fabrics, handloom products. But one optimistic thing is India is providing a good advantageous situation in services exports, and among the four modes of services exports, mode 1, India has a comparative advantage. You can see the blue lines, cross-border trade in services India has, and India's macroeconomic policy must press on, as India's contribution to the GDP is almost 55% to the from this trade in services. So India must focus on the areas of trade in services to gain its comparative advantage. Now, the recent imperialist policy, the economic ties with China, be it trade, be it FDI, are under scanner and under review after the BURDWAN attack and after the LSE conflict. the Chinese pulled for your imperialist policy, and the military aggression and the debt trap diplomacy are under criticism. China was trying to impose their superpower policy from this from 2010, when they had become the second largest GDP holder of the economy, trying to take USA, and the Sino-American trade war is one such effort in this line. Their debt trap diplomacy policy, where the creditor country like China deliberately lends excessive credit to a small debtor country with an intention of deriving economic and political concessions to a small defaulter country. When they become default, they take it in their own possession. Countries like Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Pakistan, Nepal, all Indian neighboring countries has fallen into their trap. If we consider China's export from India over a long time, that has exceeded India's export from China. That has resulted in an increase in the trade deficit over time. If we look into the merchandise part of the exports, and if in financial year 2019-20, India's import from China amounted to US 70 billion, and exports to China only a meager 17 billion, resulting in a deficit of US dollar 53 billion. Drugs, pharmaceutical products, electronics, electrical parts still heavily rely on the ingredients of imported inputs, particularly from China. And in order to export these items, India need import of intermediate goods. Until India find out its suitable trading partner from where to import its intermediate products, can India actually boycott all Chinese products altogether? Is it possible? Now, this raises the question of the Atmanirbhar Bharat, of the self-reliant India. We can think of two situations. One, a Robinson Crusoe kind of economy, where India becomes isolated from the world and try to produce everything it practically. This is impossible in the present day context. The second interpretation matches with the Keynesian ideology, where living with the means and not borrowing money. That means value of exports must match the value of imports together with, side by side, developing the domestic industries and curtail imports and reduce dependence on foreign technologies and imports. The recent UNCT AD statistics 2019 shows that there are asymmetries in the trade patterns between India and China. Manufacturing constitutes less than 50% of India's exports, where in case of China, manufacturing constitutes almost all of China's exports in merchandise trade. If we consider the trade deficit, the balance of trade account, it increased from 1950s in India, but China has tried to maintain and managed to have a positive balance of trade over the last 20 years or so. If we look at the goods that are being produced and sold around us, say car manufacturing, Maruti, Hyundai, Honda, say computers, Dell, HP, Compaq, say apparels like Peter England, Van Heusen, Louis Philippe shirts, none of these brands are produced by China. So what has China done after liberalization in the late 1970s? It has not tried to produce its own brand. Until recently, the mobile brands of Xiaomi, Vivo, Oppo, it has tried to become the manufacturer of all kinds of raw materials, small parts, ancillaries, and supplying it to the world, and the world has become an assembling hub. This was the Chinese policy, and India can concentrate on its comparative advantage area of software exports by importing necessary hardware, generic drugs, where India has a comparative advantage, reducing the import duty on ingredients. Some are comparative advantage on automobile industry, imposing a tariff on the automobile imports but allowing some amount of FDI. Now let us come to the scenario of our last part, that is the education sector. We start off again with the statement made by the UNESCO's Director General. We are entering an uncharted territory of working with countries to find high-tech, low-tech, and no-tech solutions to assure continuity of learning. We know that COVID pandemic has posed various challenges to occupation, to lifestyle, to education, and so on, and the lockdown measures has resulted in compulsory closing down of schools, higher education system, and universities, colleges, and it has posed tremendous uncertainty to the future of education. And the latest report by the UNESCO says that many countries of the world have compelled to lock down their universities and schools and all together. It has raised the issue of traditional versus online education, which is more effective as well as safe from the health point of view. Let us come to the Indian education system, the pros and cons of online education. If we move on to the traditional education in India, we find high teacher-student ratio. In most cases, social distancing could not be guaranteed due to lack of inadequate infrastructure and the greater chance of community spreading. And so, by means of the student community, and so still the government has not opened the universities and colleges. In case of e-learning, we have a different problem. We need a reorientation of teachers, students, parents, other staff members with the education sector. We also need a restructuring of the physical and technological infrastructure associated with this sector. At the same time, we need affordability of digital education. That means access to internet together with mobile phones and major issues related, which has been a major issues related to the backward and rural areas, as the earlier speakers were mentioning. Moreover, there are issues related to connectivity. The biggest impact of the pandemic has been a severe rise in the unemployment, and that has created a lack of income. So this lack of income, if it continues, will be problematic for accessing these digital platforms. Now, what are the digital platforms and what the government of India has done? Indian National Commission for Cooperation, UNESCO, INCCU, and the Ministry of Human Development has opened up various digital online education platforms along with the TV and the radio. Some of them are hinted here. E-Pathshala, that has been deployed by the National Council for Education and Research and Training for School and Higher Education, SWAYAM. This is also a website for school and higher education covering various subjects. National Repository of Open Education Resources, NREOR, a portal equipped with various kinds of interactive lectures, audios, images, and videos. Diksha, a very popular website for students engaging in materials for their prescribed school curriculum. Swayamprabha, this is not a website, but the 32 DTH TV channels transmitting educational contents on a 24/7 basis. We also have the National Digital Library. Now, the problems that has cropped up in online versus traditional education are, though there are extensions in facilities by the government and other agencies, but there must be demand and accessibility of these platforms by all sections, as I have already told. So it may create a digital divide between rural and urban, between the less developed and the developed regions in terms of ICT infrastructure, between the rich and the poor. So what is the role of the government? The government has a twin role to play, not only to save life and livelihood, but also to create an environment more and more so that students of the remote areas can take advantage of the digital platforms and the e-resources and continue to upgrade their knowledge. So with this, let me come to the possible and probable strategies. I have framed it in a different manner. I have thought it listening to various seminars and going through the books. I have structured it, try to structure it in a different way. It's a demand. There are three strategies it can be thought of. One is the demand management policy, and second one is the removal of supply bottleneck strategy, and third is sector specific policy. What does demand management policy particularly mean? It means these fiscal and the monetary stimulus packages, which the government of India already has announced 1.7 lakh crores in March 26, 20 lakh crores in 13 May, 50,000 crores for the MSME sectors, and so on and so forth. Also, various economists, including Avijit Vinayak Bandyopadhyay, the laureate economist, they have stressed the cash transfer scheme, the unemployment insurance, and the PDS and the other food rationing system to continue to support the poorer income persons who have lost their jobs. Also, there can be extensions of the tax and the debt payments on loans and EMIs, and also a reduction in the interest rate, which the RBI has done to boost up the investment incentives. Regarding the removal of supply bottleneck strategy, we have to develop our own supply chains and reduce the dependence on foreign imported parts. This strategy, which is basically the self-reliance policy. And then the second one, producing for the export market cheaply and qualitatively better, depending on new areas of comparative advantage and product diversification. This is basically the Make in India strategy. A lowering of trade barriers on intermediate inputs and boosting the production and exports to reduce the economy-wide cost. Let us now focus on the sector-specific measures that can be taken. The ILO has already stressed that protecting the workers in the workplace, stimulating the labor demand, and supporting employment and incomes are needed to keep the labor force going. This stress must be given on in India, particularly on the MGNREGA job, which can provide temporary income to the informal workers who have lost their jobs. Access to the in the educational sector, access to the user access and use to the digital platforms and e-resources can continue to help upgrade the knowledge skill of the students. In the health sector, we can think of more investment in building up strong health infrastructure, R&D to combat the health pandemics, and also development of vaccine and other health-related infrastructure to combat this kind of pandemics. In the industrial field, in the manufacturing sector, we can think of formulating a long-term strategic plan for industrialization, for massive investment in infrastructure, which can have a twin effect. One is boosting up the aggregate demand, and on the other hand, also boosting up removing the structural bottlenecks. There are many such things which can be discussed about, but due to the shortage of time, I think I should stop here. And please, the organizers, allow me, if you have any questions, please. I think I should stop here. Professor Yadav.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir, for such a nice deliberation. We learned a lot from you, sir. Thank you very much, Rajiv, sir, for giving your valuable time and joining us and giving such a nice presentation. Thank you once again, sir. So now we are moving to our next speaker, CMA Purnendu Basu from Royal University of Bhutan. Welcome, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, very good afternoon, sir. Welcome.
Am I audible and visible to everybody clearly?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are audible, sir. So now we are starting our with our next resource person. So today we have with us CMA Purnendu Basu, Senior Lecturer, Accounting and Finance, Department of Commerce, the Royal University of Bhutan. So I'm just giving a brief introduction about sir. So let me introduce CMA Purnendu Basu. CMA Purnendu Basu is Senior Lecturer of Accounting and Finance at Department of Commerce of the Royal University of Bhutan. Mr. Basu is very renowned teacher in the field of accounting and finance and has more than 16 years of teaching experience at undergraduate and postgraduate level. Mr. Basu is also working as resource person for Security Exchange Board of India, that is S.S.B. He has published many research papers in national and international journals of repute. He is associated with several academics journals. He has attended several conferences and seminars held in India and Bhutan and also other countries. He is also the associate member of Indian Institute of Cost Accountant of India, ICMAI. We are honored to have CMA Purnendu Basu as a resource person in this webinar. Today, he will be delivering his lecture on the challenges and opportunities for higher education during pandemic, the Bhutanese context. So, sir, please, session is yours now. Please enlighten us, sir.
Thank you, sir. First, let me share the screen.
Okay, sir, please.
Is my screen is visible?
No, sir. You just choose the share screen option.
Yeah, I am choosing the share screen option. And after that, 3 option is coming. So I have to go to share screen, no?
Yes, sir.
share screen. That just I
Could you
am
just
clicking that.
first you have to click on
Then it is
middle of the screen. You will then
yeah,
to share
application
screen.
window, right? Yeah, no. Then three option is coming. Your entire screen, application window,
Yeah,
and Chrome tab.
you will see your entire screen.
Which one?
Or
Application window.
no. You can share your
Which one
entire.
to click?
You can say
Application
choose.
window.
You can choose entire screen, sir.
Your entire screen.
Just
Okay, sir. Let me see. Is it visible?
yeah. Now it's okay.
Is my screen visible now?
Just a minute, sir. Yeah. Yeah, sir. Now it is visible, sir. Yeah, your
Clearly
screen is
visible.
visible. Sir.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
sir. You can
So
start.
I am making it full screen for better display.
Okay, you may choose.
Yeah. Is this screen is visible now? Full screen?
Yes, sir. Yes. Totally visible, sir.
Okay.
Now you can
Good
start.
afternoon to all. Yeah. Good afternoon to all. The topic that I am going to discuss today is the challenges and opportunities for higher education during pandemic in the Bhutanese context. I am working, myself is Purnendu Basu, and I am working here in Royal University of Bhutan. So these are my presentation outline. So first, I'll start my presentation with some famous educationist statement or quotes. After that, I'll be moving to global situation of higher education during pandemic. Next, I'll be moving to challenges for higher education in Bhutan. Then I'll be moving to challenges for Bhutanese students. Next, challenges for higher education in Bhutan. Next, steps taken by the higher education of Bhutan to combat the COVID-19 pandemic. And after that, conclusion, and last one is thank you slides. So these are the presentation outline. So sir, my screen is visible. Hello, sir. Is the screen visible clearly? So first, I want to start my presentation with the statement given by the president of Southern New Hemisphere University, Paul Lee Blank. He quoted that one of the things that the pandemic has shed a very clear light on is the degree to which higher education's business model are broken or at least extremely fragile, and now the fragility is on full display. This statement is quoted by Paul Lee Blank, president of Southern New Hemisphere University. This is another quotation which has been given by Michael Horn, founder of Clayton Christian Institutes for Disruption Innovations. According to him, the higher education had bad impact on the adult learners who were hit really hard by the economy and who are need to invest in themselves and reskill themselves. Now I'll be moving to the next global situation of higher education institute during pandemic. First is that due to pandemic, there is an immediate disruption in education. 20,000 plus higher education is closed down globally because of COVID-19 pandemic. Now I have kept this figure in red because these figures are changing. This data that I have collected is yesterday's data. So maybe today there are some changes in the data. So I kept this figure in red, 20,000 plus. The pandemic had affected roughly 128 crores of students across the globe. According to the UNESCO monitoring report, 192 countries had implemented nationwide closures, affecting 90% of the world student populations. So because of this pandemic, 90% of the world student populations are impacted. Interruption in assessment leads to delay for academic sessions. Most of the university's year-end examinations are postponed because of this disaster. As the international students admission is falling down, most of the universities which are run on students' fees are facing situation of cash crunch. This is one of the problem where across the globe universities are facing. Those universities which are funded by the government or public funded, they are not facing that much severe crisis, but those universities which are private universities and which run on student fees, those universities are facing this type of problem. Major countries which are impacted because of the pandemics are Switzerland, Germany, Italy, Sweden, and France. Because of the government fiscal deficit, many public universities are also facing the cash crunch situation. Many governments are having fiscal deficit. Most of the government expenditures are spent to combat the pandemic. As a result, government is not able to spend the money in public universities, and consequently, these public universities also facing the cash crunch situation in some countries, not in all. Now, global situations of higher education institution during pandemic and its impact on university staff. What are the problem university staffs are facing? Most of the universities across the globe started laying off staffs working on temporary contracts. Those staffs which are working on temporary contracts, they are being laid off. The reason is very simple. Since they have no work, so the university decided to lay off those workers. Both teaching and non-teaching staff face the laying off problem. The young and dynamic researchers of the universities are also facing the problem of laying off. This is going to badly impact them in the long run of their research career. So those who are engaged, those staffs or those faculties which are engaged in research work, they are also facing the problem of laying off. Now, what are the immediate impact on the students? So first impact is that because of the postponement of the examination, the students' enrollment across the globe increased significantly. The new batch of the students are enrolled, but there is no outgoing batch. This is the immediate impact. New batch of the students got enrolled, but there is no outgoing batch because most of the universities are not able to conduct the outgoing semester examination. Many students are unable to complete the assessment because of the pandemic. Many students feel that getting enrolled in the university is better than staying unemployed. In European universities, students' enrollment increased significantly, but at the same time, public funded decreased consequently, the teaching workload increased. This is another typical problem which European universities are facing. They are saying that in these universities, the student enrollment increased because there is no outgoing batch. So consequently, the student enrollment increased, but at the same time, government reduced the public funding, and consequently, the existing teacher is facing the higher workload. Students are postponing their graduation because in the labor market, there is huge job crisis. Because even after the students are passing also, they won't get job. This is the reason some students are thinking that it is better to stay in the university and rather than going in the job market and staying unemployed. Now, immediate impact on the students. What are the immediate impact on the students? International student admissions seriously dropped in most of the universities because getting visa and international flights are cancelled by many countries. So international student admission drop is a serious issue. Students are facing difficulty in managing the visa. Admission procedure is disrupted globally. Now, immediate impact on teaching and learning. How does this pandemic impacted the teaching learning process? Most of the assessments are not completed because of the pandemic. Most of the universities postponed their end-term and terminal examinations. The face-to-face teaching is replaced by the online mode of delivery. Students require the lab facility. Field visits are mostly affected by the pandemic. Institutions with huge endowments can recover well from the crisis, but those institutions which depends on students' fees are badly affected or impacted. Now, these are the global scenario. Till now, whatever I had discussed with you all is relating to the global situation of higher education during pandemic. Now, I will be moving to the higher education's challenges for higher education in Bhutan. What are the challenges higher education institution of Bhutan are facing? So I am going to discuss in that matter. So before starting my discussion, I would like to start my discussion with one quotation or one statement from the fifth king. And in his quotation, he told, "I will always support teachers throughout my reign. I will give you more importance and more recognition than any other sector. because you are going to make the greatest difference in the future of our country. This is the quotation given by His Majesty. Now, what is the impact of closing academic institution in Bhutan? Now, closing academic institute and strict containment measures means more families are relying on technology and digital solutions to keep students learning, entertained, and connected to the outside world. But not all students have the necessary knowledge, skills, and resources to keep themselves safe online. This is the statement given by Kunsang Lamo, director of NCWC. NCWC means National Commissions for Women and Children. So she told that although students are relying on the technology and digital solutions to keep themselves learn, but they are not having adequate skills, knowledge, and resources to keep themselves safe online. Now, what are the challenges for Bhutanese students? The first challenges are that students started spending more time on virtual platforms. Next is that students are vulnerable to online exploitation. Third is that increased risk of cyberbullying. And fourth is that increased unstructured time spending. This is the most important point, because here what we observed in Bhutan is that the moment student goes online, then they get directed or deviated to some other platform instead of the platform where they will get the online learning. And in that way, they spend the time in unstructured way. Other thing is that rural students are facing network problem, because of which they are unable to access the online educations. High data cost making it difficult for them to continue with the online system. This is another problem, as Bhutan is not having their own satellite, so here data cost is very high. So because of that, those who are from the humble family, they are unable to afford this online system of education. Computer proficiency and unavailability of gadgets posing a serious threat for the online education. This is another problem, that many students are there who are not very much computer proficient, and they are not having the proper gadgets like laptop and smartphone, and this is posing a serious threat for the online educations for them. Students are not well versed with the new mode of teaching and learning, as these things happen first time. So students, those who completed just class 12 and joined the university, they are not very much aware of all this new mode of teaching and learning. So these are the challenges students are facing in Bhutan. Now, next topic that I am going to discuss is challenges for higher education institution in Bhutan. What are the challenges higher education institution in Bhutan are facing? First challenges is that internet and infrastructure weakness. Internet connectivity is not that good, and moreover, the infrastructure is also quite weak to support this online teaching and learning. So this is the first challenges higher education institution in Bhutan are facing. Next is academics career stability. Academics are paid very low salary. As a result, there is a crisis for experienced faculty. This is another challenge for higher education institution. Third challenge is that higher education institutions of Bhutan facing the financial crunch and is like to face the financial liquidity crisis also. So financial crunch is there because, again, most of the government expenditure is spent for combating this pandemic. So higher education institutions are not getting properly funded. As a result, they are facing the financial liquidity crisis. The learning management software are having many technical issues. The software which Bhutanese universities are using is having many technical issues, huge shortage of trained manpower to address the technical issues. And as the international border is sealed because of the pandemic, there is a shortage of technicians. Most of the technicians are hired either from India or Bangladesh. And since there is a shortage of technicians, so this learning LMS software technical issues and glitches are still there. What are some other challenges are many senior professors and academicians are not well versed with the modern technology and online classes. This is another problem. Those professors who are very senior cadre, although they are very knowledgeable, but they are not well versed with this new technology and online classes. Higher education of the country is not well prepared to handle the online mode of teaching and learning. And suddenly this pandemic had happened, and because of that, higher education institution of the country is not well prepared to handle this online mode of teaching and learning. Now the steps. these are the challenges which higher education institutions and students are facing. Now we will look at, I will be discussing with you all regarding the steps taken by the higher education institution of Bhutan to combat the COVID-19 pandemic. What steps Bhutanese universities are taking to combat the COVID-19 pandemic? First is that integration of environment and health course in the curriculum. The higher education institution of Bhutan has included the environment and health courses in the curriculum. These courses are compulsory for all, irrespective of the student's background and subject choice. Various environmental program has been initiated like SUPW work, etc. SUPW means socially useful productive work. That type of program. For health awareness, students are often oriented by medical professionals from nearby hospitals and basic health unit. So this is how the first steps what the higher education institution are doing is that they're integrating the environment and health courses in the curriculum, because there is only one way of avoiding this pandemic is to be awareness and maintaining social distancing. So there universities and higher education institutions of Bhutan, they are trying to create this type of health awareness programs, and they are trying to integrate the environmental program in the curriculum. So the next is that strengthened environmental policy and hygiene practices. It is well-known fact that good environmental policy and hygiene practices can deter the spread of pandemic. The higher education institution of Bhutan has started practicing mass cleaning of the institute campus as well as the surrounding area. Both students and staffs are participating in the cleaning campaign by following the health protocols. Students are frequently briefed by the environmental expert on the importance of keeping the environment safe and clean. Many organizations across the Bhutan adopting the environmental accounting concept to assess the impact on environment because of the organization activities. So basic objective here is that all the HEI of Bhutan are trying to strengthen the environmental policy and the hygienic practice. Next is that the third step that is being taken by the higher education institution of Bhutan to combat COVID-19 pandemic is that incorporate online medical service. Free virtual services such as medical counseling, mental health, teleconferencing, and other related online health service from medical staff representative and professional health expert such as psychologists and guidance counselors are readily accessible for the students and staff even outside the centers of HEI. So this is the one biggest facility the government is launching now. They are giving the free medical services for the student as well as the staffs who are working here with the higher education institution, because this pandemic situation is very depressing both for the student as well as the staff. So this type of medical counseling, mental health teleconferencing, and other related online health services really boost the morale of the staff as well as the students. This is the third thing the higher education institution of Bhutan is doing to combat the COVID-19 pandemic. Next, now migrate courses, align curriculum competencies, and scale up teacher training for online learning instructions. Now, what the universities are doing now in Bhutan, that they are migrating the courses. Migrating courses means here shifting the courses. Those courses which is possible to deliver through online mode, they are keeping it, and those courses which need that lab facility or which need the practical session, the universities are now migrating those courses or those subjects for the next semester. Hopefully, after 1 year or 2 years, the situation will get normal. In that case, those courses will be taught. So this is one way what the higher education institution of Bhutan is doing. The next thing is that they are aligning the curriculum. That means they are making some changes in the curriculum. Universities are making some changes in the curriculum to align it with the need of the hour. Because some part of the curriculum may be relevant before pandemic, but after pandemic or during pandemic situation, that part may not be relevant. So some changes are being made, some new things are being added, and some old things is being removed to make the curriculum up to date and to make it more contemporary. And the third thing what higher education institutions of Bhutan is doing is that they are scaling up teachers training. There are many faculties are there who has a very good and sound academic background, but they are not well versed with the modern technology. So universities are training those faculties. Apart from that, those who are new generation faculties who had some exposures to the modern technology, universities are imparting training to them so that these new generation teachers can help the senior faculties to learn the technology. Because the idea is that 15 days or 1 month training is not enough for anybody to remember all the things in the modern technology. So already if the new generation faculties are well versed with the modern technology, then they can easily transfer the knowledge to their colleague without much difficulty. Now, strengthen research efforts, data monitoring, and evidence-based practices. Now, here what happened, once the pandemic has onset, then Bhutan higher education shifted from the traditional classroom teaching to online-based teaching. So when the teaching mode has been changed to online-based, immediately effort is being made for data monitoring, documentation, and evidence-based practices. That means whatever activities teachers are doing, for every small activities, teachers have to maintain proper documentations. And those documentation is being monitored by either HOD of that particular department or by the center head or by the president or principal or director, whoever is that, they are monitoring it. So this helps to impart the quality educations to the students. There has been numerous innovative programs of higher learning. The VLE system is updated. VLE means virtual learning environment. In Bhutan, most of the universities have purchased this virtual learning environment system, which is basically a software. And now this system is being upgraded so that with this VLE system, all type of test, examination, assignment, evaluations can be done. So for that, universities had spent huge amount of money to buy this particular software, and they have upgraded the software, and they have trained both the teachers as well as the students through online mode that how to use this VLE system. The HEI, Higher Education Institution, adopted the stringent monitoring policy. Higher Education Institution of Bhutan needs to demonstrate effectiveness and efficiency in the educational administration because the stakeholder demand evidence from institution to support the claim of excellence and effectiveness. So HEI of Bhutan, they need to show effectiveness and efficiency because stakeholder demands evidence. And this is that's why data monitoring and research effort and evidence-based practices are being given more importance during pandemic. Now, another step that is being taken by the higher educations of Bhutan is establishing hybrid education system. Because of the complex and interrelated problems such as lack of infrastructure, high cost of online system, difficulty in evading traditional education system in some applied sciences. So here there are some sciences where it is not possible to evade the traditional education system like medical sciences, where it is not possible to deliver the education through online mode. So here for those type of things, which prevents higher education institution in Bhutan to rapid transitions in e-learning system. Because there are some subjects where we need face-to-face teaching only, where online educations won't help, like medical sciences, engineering sciences, where face-to-face teaching is the best option. Therefore, a proposal for gradual transformation of hybrid education system is in place. So although there is not rapid transitions in e-learning system, but there is a proposal for gradual transformation of hybrid education system is in place. Hybrid education system means the educations will be imparted both through the traditional way as well as through this online mode. This is also called blended education system. Now, conclusion. Higher education worldwide is affected due to COVID-19 pandemic. It leads to the closure of higher education institutions across the globe. Higher education institutions of Bhutan are facing many challenges in its systems of planning, implementation, and assessment. On a light note, however, the global pandemic provided gateway to Bhutan to upgrade its educational mode of delivery and transfer its attentions to emerging technologies. Higher education institution of Bhutan seized the opportunity to strengthen its accessible mental health related service for the students and make the curriculum responsive to the needs of changing times. So basically, higher education institutions of Bhutan are focusing on to make the curriculum responsive to the needs of changing time, because time before pandemic and time during pandemic and time after pandemic, at all 3 times are different. World will be a totally new world. So the higher education institutions are also trying to upgrade them or make the changes with the responsive to the needs of the changing time. And that's all from my side. Thank you to you all for giving a patience hearing of my presentation. If you have any question answer, you can ask me.
Thank you very much, sir.
Hello.
For such a sir. Thank you very much, sir, for such a nice
Yes, sir.
deliberation. And thank you very much. You have given a brief idea about the various problems that are being faced by Bhutan and suitable measures that they are taking to revive, to cope up with this pandemic. So, without much delaying, I'm going to start the question and answer session. So, Rajiv sir is also there. I will start from Rajiv sir. Rajiv sir, can you hear me, sir?
Yes. Yes.
Sir, at present we are seeing that it is just a general question, sir. At present we are seeing that government
Yes,
is
sir.
regularly wants to privatize the various PSUs and PSBs. So, do you think that it is good for a country like India, or what is your opinion, sir? Kindly enlighten, sir. I know that it is not related to your.
It's a little bit
my presentation.
Controversial question. I don't know whether I am the right person to address on it, but still, various government enterprises and the government has already announced its policy that there will be 4 to 5 big business houses which will be backed up by the government, and including banks and other institutions. You have seen the mergers and the acquisitions going on over the last few months. 10 banks were merged to 3 to 4 banks. So this kind of mergers or acquisitions or selling of the public sector units or public sector enterprise to gain money to finance the investments, and as they are telling that over the years they have made not good profit. That means they were operating under losses. So this was one of the reasons why they tried to privatize. But there is a policy, there is a slight difference as student. This is for students. I hope everyone knows between disinvestment and privatization, because they would have gone for disinvestment, but privatization, that means selling more than 50% of the share to the private sector, to the public, or in some way taking trying to gather investment in that manner would be more fatal, because government, as we have seen, government has a very important role to play in the pandemic situation, and all countries of the world, including the capitalist countries, have also reiterated the fact that there must be some important role of the government sector, and particularly in developing the health and the academics and the education sector. So there was a debate between Professor Amartya Sen and Jagadish Bhagwati, which also hinted on this debate between social sector reforms and this globalization and liberalization. They are coming back to the same issue. But I think there must be some restraints, but it's the government policy today that they are doing it. So no more to comment on that. I think that can be some answer to the some clues to the question. Okay.
Yeah, sir. I know that it is very controversial issue, but sir, as I work in for public sector bank, and I know the condition of banks and in what pressure they are working, bankers are working. Actually, sir, as you are the expert of economics, so one thing I just want to add to my question, that so far as I know, that more than 55 to 60% people are engaged in our country in agriculture. So do you think that if all these banks were privatized, then they will provide loan like KCC, Kisan Credit Card, or what will be the future of agriculture if all these were privatized? Just share your opinion, sir.
See, at one time, before nationalization of banks in 1969, the problem was priority sector loans were not coming. Priority sectors means the sectors which were given subsidized credit, which were given loans at very small, particularly the stress must be on the MSMEs, small and medium enterprises. They are to opt loans, and they will take the loans at a very small interest because they have a low repayment capacity. We know the Professor Mohammad Yunus of Bangladesh, who got the Nobel Prize for peer monitoring. We know they lended to the a group of people who were particularly trying to develop a kind of small self-help group kind of thing. We're trying to build up this kind of, and that will be a problem if all institutions, particularly banks, gets privatized. Then the priority sector lending, the rules and regulations of the RBI may not be binding, as it is not binding on private sector banks altogether. So there can be, I don't think everything, if all banks are going to be, but I think what they have opined is in future they will try to merge or and keep 4 to 5 major banks according to the banking recommendation, the Nausimum Committee and the later recommendation of the Basel Committee and others. They will try to follow merging the banks. Sorry, excuse me. So, trying to merge the banks and keep 4 to 5 big public sector banks in their front and keep the other banks. And they are trying to also make the inoperative, and that has serious implications for employment also, because people who are working in the banking sector, I have talked to them. They are at all time they are thinking that is whether if the banks are merged, maybe their jobs maybe they may be compelled to take voluntary retirement or something like that. That may be a great implications of the banking sector employment also, because banking sector also provides a huge employment to the government means the nationalized banks particularly. We're not talking about the private and the foreign banks. So government has to think twice before doing this, I think, and they will definitely, I think, take proper steps in this regard.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes.
Next question goes to P.VOC, sir. So one of our participants asked this question: what is the way ahead in future education? Is it blending of online learning with offline learning and creating a hybrid system of education, or can the offline mode of learning be totally replaced by online mode of learning in near future? So kindly, P.VOC, sir. Punendu, sir, can you hear me?
Or can be
Yes, sir.
offline mode of learning be totally replaced by online? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Am I audible to you all?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are audible.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. See, if we look at the present situation, now entire teaching and learning cannot take place through the online mode practically, because I am working in Royal University of Bhutan and I am using the online mode because I am all the trainer also here. I train the teachers that how to use the online system and virtual learning environment software. Okay, so entire teaching learning cannot take place through the online mode, because there are some disciplines like medical science, engineering science, where practical and lab is very essential component. So best teaching strategy, even if during this pandemic time and even after pandemic, because you don't know how long it will take time to get rid of this situation, best teaching strategy would be blended learning or hybrid learning. Both offline and online should go simultaneously. Now, what Royal University of Bhutan is doing, when it comes to that module which needs practical session or needs lab assistance, then for that particular program, students they are given 1 month or 2 months continuous class without any break. Okay, and that particular module is being taught, and rather than they are sent back to their respective home. Similarly, for other batches, similarly, they are being called for 1 month and 2 months, and that particular module is taught and they are sent back. And for other module where it is possible to deliver through online mode, where face-to-face interaction is not needed, in that case, online mode is being used. So my conclusion is like this: online and offline, both things are needed to deliver the module. Otherwise, online or relying on simply offline won't give you benefit, larger benefit. If it is blended, then only the benefit will be more. That's what my opinion is.
Thank you, sir. So next question to
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
Am I
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Next question to Rajiv, sir.
am I able to answer all the queries?
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We have a few more questions for you, sir, but we will get back to you just after this question.
Okay.
Next question to Rajiv, sir.
Okay.
Dr. Rajiv Bhattacharya.
Yes.
Sir, at present, we know that migrant laborer has moved to their hometown. It has created unemployment for him. So how we could generate employment for those in local areas?
See, already I have stressed in my revival strategy that there are two kinds of policies, three kinds of, in fact, I have stated. One is the demand management policy, two is the supply bottleneck policy, chain removal of supply bottleneck, and the third one is sector specific policy. I think in case of the workers who were previously were in other towns, who have migrated back to their native villages or their native towns, they are finding it extremely difficult because they have lost their jobs. So temporarily, the government is stressing on the 100 days work or the MGNREGA scheme to provide alternative employment to them. And also small jobs or MSME sectors, the government is trying to boost investment. But the problem is there is a twin seizure here. If there are no takers of investment, if we cannot boost up the aggregate demand because there is no market, the market has shrunk to such an extent that if the government is willing to give loans at subsidized rate, then also there are no takers of investments. So if the government can promote and somehow give confidence that when the lockdown will be over, when situations will come towards the normal one, the demand situation will be back, and the government is standing behind you, providing some kind of income transfers or cash transfer scheme that can probably boost up the aggregate demand or provide some kind of alternative employment to them. Because otherwise their purchasing power has been so weak, they are starving, they are not getting proper amount of food from the public distribution system. There are chaoses which you have seen in the medias and so on. I think this should be removed and they should be given at least food and cash transfers to carry on their they should not starve at this period of time, because when the situation will come to normal, then the MSME workers or this kind of workers may find their jobs back and the situation can revive a little bit. I hope so.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Next question to B.VOC, sir. One of our participants, Rupesh Yadav. How online learning will change the face of research? Actually, we know that in case of research, we need to remain in touch with our research supervisor. So, how this online mode will change the face of
guide. Okay. Yeah, online mode is research. Then through online possible to conduct. Because I have experience in social science research, so I can tell you about the social science research. But physical science research, since I am not from that physical science background, so I have no idea on that stream. But for social science, I think that possible to deliver through online mode. The supervisor's job is to guide the researcher, to tell him to do the literature review, how to frame the research questions, from where to collect the data, and that can be done through face-to-face also, and that can be done through online mode. But the problem in social science research these days, what students are facing is that they are not able to visit the places, because most of the places there are restrictions. So you cannot go for a group research, you cannot go and meet with that particular company or with the particular business organization with the head because of these health issues. Okay, so that is the problem. The data collection, if the research is done through the primary data collection methods, then students are facing problem. Otherwise, if the students are resorting to the secondary data, then there won't be much problem for doing the social science research. But for marketing research, where the students or learners have to visit for data collections, in that case, facing the problem is not allowing outsiders to go and meet the particular person in programming. But in case of physical science research, I am not having much idea about it, so I don't want to comment on that. Okay, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Am I able to clear the doubt?
Yes, sir.
Or am I
Yes, sir.
able
Yes,
to
sir.
answer the query?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We
Okay,
have one more question for you, but after this question goes to Dr. Rajiv Bhattacharya.
Yes.
Sir, again, one controversial question. I think, do you think that Professor Sudipto Ghosh from PK College, Kontai, he has raised this question? I don't know.
Again, let me not go into the controversies of bank price, because this is a policy matter, and without entering much into detail, I have already said that see, bank privatization at one time we know it, because as students of commerce, as students of economics, we know that banks must be having some net profit or operating profit, because over time we have seen the after the bank nationalization, after the globalization of banks, there are, due to certain reasons, the public sector banks were not performing well, and for that the after liberalization, Narsimham committee and other committees made certain recommendations to go on for extensive internets and all kind of application of ICTs and all kinds of autonomy to the banks, and reduce the priority sector lending and make profits to lending, say to become kind of act as not only to the traditional banking system, they also operate as modern banking system as it is operating throughout the world, corporate banking now. So trying to make profit is one of the major criterions of staying in the market. And if you can't make profit, if you can't compete with other banks, definitely you will be a sick enterprise. And the role of the government is, the government today is trying to shrink the economies, the role of the government sector or the public sector in such a manner that they are trying to put the stress on the banking sector also. The banks are also forced to assemble or amalgamate with one another, merge with one another. So the government is not taking that responsibility to expedite the banking system or to make them come out of the losses and provide certain policy prescriptions so that they can continue their business. So I think this kind of privatization attitude is maybe fatal for the long run, but due to the profitability issue, some concerns are definitely raised from the government point of view. I think that much I can say.
Thank you, sir. This is the last question goes to Purnendu Basu, sir. One of our participants this question to Basu, sir. You can see it on your screen, sir. Yes, sir. There are some health-related issues associated with these online classes. So how this can be managed?
there are some health-related issues associated with online. How this can be managed?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a very relevant question. The question is from Ms. Rupa. The question is very relevant question, and that's how the Royal University of Bhutan they managed. They are having giving this free online medical services to the students, not just students, as well as to the faculties, to the staffs. Because during this pandemic, many students are having this type of depressing situations, plus this accessing the online through computer is very strenuous jobs. So for that online medical services from professional psychologists, from doctors, so this type of services are given so that the students can this problem easily and they can more focus in the study because the situations had changed from traditional to online. Many students are not prepared in that line before, and this is the first time they are seeing this type of changes, so they are getting panic. Sometimes what happens that they get stressed out, although they are ready to write for the examination, they prepared well, but because of technical glitch or because of technical problem they are not able to write the page or particular website or that particular link, and this creates unnecessary tension and stresses on them. So for this type of online medical counseling helps them to cope up. The objective here is that to make the student learn not surface because of the faulty online system glitch. So that's why many students are facing this problem. This type of many will help them out. But Bhutan is able is a small country, and here there are not many universities. Only two universities are there. One is MEDINIPUR, and another is Royal University of Bhutan. So for them, for this small country with two universities, it is possible to afford online medical service. But if the country is very big and where number of universities are many, then there is some problem because this whole system itself is very costly thing. This giving online medical services to the student, it's a very costly cost because university have to spend huge amount of money for buying these kind of services from the professional agency. I hope my answer is able to clear your doubt. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, sir. So thank you very much, all of you, for being with us. So it's time for vote of thanks. So
Hello.
now, yeah, yes, sir.
Is my answer is able to clear your doubt?
Yes, sir. You have cleared everything. So thank you very much once again for being with us, Dr. Raju
Hello.
Bhattacharya and Purnendu CMA Purnendu Basu. I convey my gratitude to all of you and also to Dr. Durlab Sarkar, Dr. Professor Anil Bhuimali, the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Raiganj University. So I think we don't have any question. Actually, you have satisfied. She is commenting. Okay. So, sir, now it's time for vote of thanks. So now I request Mr. Pothik Pradhan, Assistant Professor and Head Department of English, EGRA S.S.B College, to please, sir, give the vote of thanks. Please, over to you, Dr. Pothik Pradhan. Sir.
Thank you, Dr. Yadav, for giving me this opportunity. Am I audible, Dr. Yadav?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay. This has really been a wonderful first day session in this two-day international webinar on issues and challenges of sustaining civil rights, education, and economy. And before the closure of today's session, I think it's customary to convey our gratitude to all those who have been instrumental in making today's session a successful one. I, on behalf of the organizers, would like to convey my heartfelt gratitude to our inaugurator, Professor Anil Bhuimali, the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Raiganj University, and our special guest, Dr. Sasinath Mandal, WBES and Associate Professor of Law, Government of West Bengal, for giving their kind consent to be among us, managing their super busy schedule, and for honoring us with the privilege of hosting administrators and academicians of such repute. I would also like to thank today's resource persons, Dr. Dulab Sarkar, the Honorable Registrar of Raiganj University, Dr. Rajiv Bhattacharya, Associate Professor of Economics, Goenka College of Commerce and Business Administration, and CMA Purnendu Basu sir, Senior Lecturer, Department of Commerce, who is right from the Royal University of Bhutan, and who has been instrumental in giving this webinar an international status. Thank you very much for spending your precious time with us and sharing your valuable ideas and thoughts with us. Indeed, all the speeches are really very informative and thought-provoking. And I think that after listening to your speeches, all the participants will be compelled to rethink on these issues again and again. And that's what we have organized the seminar for. We have been enriched a lot through your erudite deliberations, sir. And special thanks to Professor Devashish Sood, Professor of Commerce, BURDWAN University, who has helped us in all possible ways in the process of organizing this webinar. I would also like to thank Dr. Deepak Kumar Tamili, the principal of EGRA Sarada Association College, and the organizers from both EGRA Sarada Association College and NAV-BANDHAN for making, managing the webinar in such a smooth way. Lastly, of course, last but not the least, I would like to thank all our participants who have showed their interest and who have been with us all through the session, who with their active participation had made the interactive session so much engaging. Thank you very much. And before officially declaring the end of today's session, I would just like to give a gentle reminder to our participants that tomorrow we will have among us Professor Uttam Kumar Datta, Professor Sanjeev Kumar Tiwari, and Professor Shankar Kumar Acharya as resource persons, and we'll resume the program sharp at 11 a.m. And to the to the paper presenters, I would like to inform all of them that the session for paper presentation, the time schedule for the session of paper presentation had been changed. It has been rescheduled from 5 p.m. onwards instead of 5:30. And we had informed you through email. Kindly check your inbox. And even after that, if you have any sort of query, kindly get connected with the organizers. Looking forward to meet you all tomorrow in the final session of this webinar. Once again, thank you very much. Have a good day ahead.
Thank
With
you.
this, I would like to declare the end of today's session.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And my pranam to all of you.
Thank you.
Sir
Thank you.
Purnendu, sir, thank you. Rajiv Bhattacharya, sir, thank you for being with us. Okay, with this, we are concluding our today's session. Thank you very much, sir. And stay safe. Bye, sir.